I'm at 928 Thornton Street in Dayton, Kentucky, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, anything that may be of concern to the buyer. We're accessing this from a leg coming off a downspout. Right as you walk in the back basement door, the man door that comes from outside. Just to your left, there's a line that comes through the wall and then drops down into the floor. It's coming from an outside downspout. This was the only access point. We had to take a couple fern cones, rubber boots off to be able to remove a repair that was made to be able to gain access. There is no clean out. It looks like there may be one in the wall here for that downspout, but it's been painted over and it's I'm not attempting to even mess with that. It's probably an old line. It's not in the best of shape. So this was the easiest access. I'll try to show you. So you can see this is where there is the connection into the floor. And then it came out of here. You can see it coming back through there. Through the wall, and then that over there, and that little thing sticking out is possibly a clean out, but it would take a lot of work to get that out of here. So this hub is starting to rust out. That's probably why this was replaced up to the connection here, because this was probably, the cast iron was probably rusting away. So as we go through here, it looks like it switches over to clay almost immediately, which is what you want. Since clay cannot rust out, it usually lasts. You don't have to worry about it rusting and falling apart that way. So there from your right is a the floor drain coming in. This looks like there's water that comes in the back door and then drops into this. There's quite a bit of mud around it, so that's something that you would want to make sure you keep cleaned out. That will be checked by the home inspector, the condition of that floor drain. There's another connection from your left. That is most likely the toilet. We'll see about running some water upstairs to verify that. That is the main stack, I believe, coming in from the left. That's where pretty much everything comes down that stack, the bathroom, the kitchen. I think it all actually runs over and comes into that one stack that comes in there to the left. Where this could be the front bathroom. There's going to be multiple connections. There's a little bit of roots. That's not even, it's barely worth, you might want to monitor that in the future, but that's not anywhere near the flow line or anything. And it looks mostly dead. Roots are pretty common to have at least some in, as long as there's a tree close by, just because if you watch as we come down this clay line, you'll see a connection about every 3 feet. So it's just a lot of opportunity for roots to get in. So as you can see, there's a little bit of water sitting here. This camera lens is only about a ½ an inch off the bottom of the pipe. And this is 6-inch pipe, so ½ an inch of water in a 6-inch pipe is not much. It's maybe getting up to an inch. Looks like there is a belly here. What I can do is, when I pull back, I can double check this. I can put something on the front of the camera to raise it up. So we can get a look at this section of the pipe if necessary. But yeah. And you do want to note that it's pretty common to have flat lines inside a house, and just because there's no standoff on the camera, I will note that there's a belly here. But I don't see like a bunch of solids and stuff sitting down in the pipe, and the water level, you can actually see the water level barely above the lens. But we will want to come back through with a standoff. So So we can double check that spot and see if there's any roots or anything getting in above the line, since we can't see through the water. So we want to get a look at all this and try to get it all cleaned out here. We want to check to make sure that if this is a blockage that's forcing it to hold water, or if it's just a small belly, or a large belly, it seems that now you can't see the top of it. Right, as you can see, I made it all the way out, and it looks like we found a whole house trap. So, the problem with this is that a whole house trap is not code any longer, but usually it prevents my camera from going through to be able to inspect the exterior. I will go check. A lot of times there's clean outs above these. There should be, but if it's never been opened up, meaning it's never had an issue enough to where they would have to get access, then it may still be covered by concrete. But I am going to go locate this spot. I'm out 64 feet, so this may be out front, so maybe closer to the edge of the property than we think. And if it is out by the sidewalk, then SD1 would most likely be responsible for anything after this, but we don't know that until we locate it. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to go get a locate and see if I can find where this is located. Okay, so this is actually out at the curb, right out at the sidewalk, and so I'm not too familiar. SD1 has been better recently about repairing laterals out in the street, at least. And the reason I'm saying that is just so that they, you would hope that they would have some responsibility for most of the line past this point if we are unable to get past it. And then I will pull back because there is a little bit of solid build up here. So you can see it looks like a little bit of root intrusion there. I think actually there was a little bit of buildup when I pushed through it, but we want to try to see if we can get this thing to go down through the trap, but most likely it's not going to happen. Usually they're big enough to get a camera through, but try to I'm going to try to work on this a little bit. We're going to try to run some water and stuff also. Maybe that'll help. Try to flush that trap out either way. What we're trying to do is, I'm going to turn this off so you might be able to see a little better, but with these whole house traps, it's harder to, if you have access directly above it, then it's easy to get the camera, down through it, but when we're from the placement here, what the problem is that my camera wants to go straight. So to get it to go down and then through like a big U, that's where the problem comes in. So I could always try a smaller camera. And so I think that's probably what we're going to do. The smaller camera might be able to make that bend, but this one is just not able to. We're going to we're going to watch all this and see if because you can see the paper build up there. And so I think it would be also a good idea to do a little bit of investigating. There's a patch out in the road that the neighbor said was from the water company. And you can see here there's some roots getting through. So I think that that's why I was underwater for so long. There's some roots there. It's been catching toilet paper and stuff. And so there is a little bit of a blockage. And as I punch through it with my camera, it looks like I've caused the water level to drop dramatically, which is what we want, so we can see the pipe. But it does indicate that there is some root intrusion from the neighboring house. There's a tree in the front yard. And so it'd probably be a good idea to have this cleaned. I would recommend this be cleaned. You can see the root ball coming in there. You want to make sure that it's done correctly, either with some, yeah, you can see that big chunk of stuff. So this is backed up probably recently. So I'm going to try to push some of this stuff through. But the roots are catching other materials, toilet paper, other solids. You can see that large chunk. And it looks like it's covered in, could be covered in grease. That large chunk, that white is grease. So there you got some here too, 100 feet. So there's a lot of build up here. This is going to have to be cleaned. And then when they do that, we'll let them know that they will have to go out 60 something feet or so to get to be able to clean this out, and then to actually clean out the trap. So I think what I'm going to push all the way out again to that 65-foot mark, and I'm going to mark that so that they know where that trap is and how far they would have to go with the depth. We're going to wash that and let it flow anyway, because that'll show that that trap is functioning. It is allowing water through it, and the water level is not rising, so the trap is open. But right now I'm going to go ahead and get another locate. I'm going to actually mark this with some green paint and a flag so that they know that that's where this trap is, and see if there's any kind of spot out there that may have some access, or in the future you would know if they need to possibly create access to this to be able to clean it out. But I can explain that better probably over the phone if this is needed. But I think I'm going to recommend that this be cleaned first of all because of the roots. They will want to know that there is a whole house trap out by the sidewalk, and then also I'm going to recommend that somebody contact either water department or the sanitary sewer department, so that, which is SD1 in this area, just to see what the patch out in the road is, what they found. So with obviously a new buyer, you want to make sure that that patch in the road isn't going to cause more issues for the buyer. But so anyway, right now I'm going to pause this. We're going to go out there and mark it with a green flag and paint. And then we'll pull back and I'll go back through again. Yep. Okay, so.
You want me to start doing it?
This is, so we're going to pull back. You can see the water flowing. The trap is not backing up at all, so that's a good sign. But there is obvious root intrusion. This will have to be cleaned. I didn't see anything structural. I'm going to pull back and I'm going to try to put a standoff on this. I'm going to turn the water off, and then it should drain down and see if we can see better. I will put the little standoff on this. As you can see mostly, but when it gets to that, I think it's just holding some water, and we do have it flowing. I think it's holding a little bit more water than. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a little standoff on the front real quick. That way we can try to raise this up off the bottom. And I'll try to push this out, and then I am going to attempt one pass with a small camera and hope that it doesn't. And that way hopefully it'll make its way out. So I do have the standoff on here. So hopefully this will hold it up high enough to get it out of that water, and we can kind of tell what's going on above and around that. But there you can see that line coming in. There's the water beginning. I am going to shut that off and hopefully it drains down. It is flowing clear. It just, you know, those roots are going to have to be cleaned out downstream here so that it doesn't cause any blockages, and then from then on you will have to do some maintenance. Probably about, I would start after having it done, and then I would, you know, after a year or two I would have it rechecked and see how much root growth you have. Have a belly from about, a real short belly, that's not much water, like I said. But it helps about a 2 foot, really short 2 foot belly, which is not uncommon for old pipe. So we're hoping, as we go through here, that I can get past the roots. As you can see, I'm staying above all this water so far. And I think some of the reason why this water is sitting there is because there is some root intrusion like that to the right and some blockage. So it's holding back some of the water. Yeah, see, you can see all this, and this is probably what's holding all this water. It needs to be cleaned. And then re-inspected. I'm going to try to push some of this stuff through with my camera, but you can see that's a pretty large group. I'm going to recommend a cleaning and a re-inspection because my camera's getting through, but there's a pretty large blockage. That could be some, it looks like roots. And so that's holding back. That's one of the main reasons why you see so much water behind it before we get to this point. Is because that is holding, like a dam, it's holding some of the water. It is eventually making it through, but there's a lot of root intrusion here. And so we want to make sure that that gets all cleared out. You do have access through this back spot. You want to make sure that you're using a large blade and make sure this is cleared. There we are back at the, and see there is a connection up there. And so maybe we can try to find, if you look, right there coming from above, there used to be a clean out or something right there. So I'm going to poke around out there and see if I can find anything. But it's probably been buried for years. And so, good thing is we were able to get a good look at a lot of this stuff, even though it was holding water with that, having the standoff on the camera. And so I'm going to recommend that this be cleaned and then re-inspected just to make sure that the roots haven't caused any damage to the line. that they are just getting in at because it looks like they're all just getting in at connections. There are connections every 3 foot in clay pipe, so there's just a lot of room. Getting roots in clay pipe is very, very common. And then after this is cleaned, should be re-inspected and just to be sure that it's not causing any structural issue. But I think most of the reason why there's so much water in this line is because it has to reach a certain point to flow over top of some of the roots and stuff. So I haven't seen anything structurally that has me concerned, but the roots may be hiding something. I'm actually pulling back some roots on the edge of my camera that I pulled out. So I will leave these sitting right outside the back door. But you can see that's what's in my hands. So okay, so if we're gonna this part of the inspection is about over, I'm going to I'm actually going to stop the recording. First, I just want to say again, so I was able to get out to the sidewalk, which is where there's a whole house trap. I am recommending that the line be cleaned and re-inspected to make sure that there's no structural issues, but we need to get the roots out, and then past that point there will need to be some regular maintenance. I would have it looked at maybe a year to a year and a half after you move in, and then to see kind of what the state of the roots is and see how long you have. But I mean, it's pretty normal to have to maintenance the line. And so the maintenance meaning like either a cleaning, or sometimes you can put chemicals in it, every 6 months to a year, and that will help. Like basically it's a chemical that kind of burns back the roots to keep them from growing into your sewer line. It does not kill the tree. It just kind of burns back the roots so that they're not in your sewer. But again, this is very common for clay lines. In fact, the neighbor to the right, if you're facing the house, it's his tree, and he's already had issues with his line. So I spoke to him a little bit ago. I also want to mention before the end of this portion of the inspection that I would contact either SD1 and or the water department to find out what work was done in front. There's a plate in the street, and I would try to find somebody that could give some information about what was done out there, just to see if there was any repairs done to the sewer line or the water line, and make sure that that's not going to have any residual effect on the homeowner. But it sounds to me like it is all repaired based on the neighbor, but I would still double check that just to be sure. And so I'm going to stop this portion of the recording, and then I'm going to start up a secondary recording with the small camera in case I can get past that trap.